I don't even have an intro. I was just like, I was just gonna start it out and be like,
it's like, oh, hey, here's this thing.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? Who are you?
Yeah.
Why are you listening to my voice?
Right. Anyways, welcome to the Smoke Stop podcast with your host, the first episode actually, with your host, Stony. I'm here with Rashoni, the Rock and Roll Dragon.
Hey, what's up?
I am smoking right now a Cuban.
Ooh.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. So the name of the podcast is called the Smoke Stop Podcast, and it's basically every once in a while I will do an interview and I'll have a cigar or a pipe with me, you know.
Oh, dude, you should have told me in advance. I would have gotten one because I literally at a block party right around the 4th of July,
Right.
my fiance's brother was giving out cigars to like some of his friends and people,
Mhm.
and like I got one, and it was a Cuban too, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was like, I could have gotten one of those for the podcast. I could have joined you, but oh well.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, that's fine though.
Yeah.
So, when exactly did you join the fandom? Do you have a?
Oh
estimate?
man. Oh well. The number I keep sticking with is right around 2008.
All right.
Sure, I had like an interest in the fandom and with like, you know, general anthro media stuff
Right.
like beforehand, but that was like when I said, okay, yeah, I will go on record, like this is the date. You know.
So you've actually been in a little longer than I have, because I was 2009 when I joined.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Was
No, it was funny because like you know,
Right.
I would have considered, I liked different like anthropomorphic characters and stuff like that all the way up through like middle school, high school, but it wasn't until after I graduated that I was like, okay, yeah, I'm into this like full-fledged, you know.
Right. Whoa, that was weird. Sorry, I have a heat tank directly behind my computer. I don't know if you heard that, but my pipe just went ding back and forth. Like a Hanna-Barbera.
That's not good.
It does it every single time. It's just a hot water tank. Anyway.
I was gonna say, because this is like, welcome to the first episode of this podcast. Freaking
Yeah.
explosion.
Anyways, was Rashoni the first Sona that you made?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where the development of the character itself, like, it just came from a place where I had only just recently, within the last couple of years, prior to making the character, gotten more seriously into drawing and stuff like that.
Right.
And I had just picked up a book on how to draw dragons. It was like one of those, you know, how to draw books,
Yeah.
kind of type deals where it shows you step by step, but then the last step is all the like the professional shaded detailed crap that you can't just do in one step.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, it was a book by Neon Dragon, I think. She was actually pretty popular on like DeviantArt, that
I
kind
don't
of
know
thing.
who any of these people are, by the way.
Anyway, yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't, because she's only put out like 2 books,
Right.
or something like that. Anyway, so I just learned how to draw dragons. I'm like, ooh, you know, wouldn't it be cool if I incorporated that interest with my you know, anthropomorphic art interest? And so I just kind of made that character on a whim.
Right.
And it wasn't until later that I really kind of realized what it meant to me.
Mhm.
It was more than just combining things that I liked. It just, you know, it's like, oh, wait a minute, this represents me more than I thought it did.
Yeah.
You know?
It speaks to you more than just,
Yeah.
I really like this animal. It's not like that.
Yeah, no, it's like the guy in First Encounters of the Third Kind, where he's making the little mashed potato mound, and he's like, this means something.
That's, you know what's sad? I know that's like a really good movie, but I have never seen it.
Yeah, it's worth seeing at least once.
Right.
You know, of course, you watch any old nostalgic movie, it's not going to live up to the hype that a lot of people hold it to most of the time. I mean, that was one of those movies where it was like, okay, I can see why this was big at the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, you compare it to any big blockbuster alien movie, it's just like, oh, that's where they kind of got that idea from, you know?
Right. So I gotta ask, one of the things that you are well known with on your YouTube channel is music. So do you have a preference when it comes to guitar companies?
That is one of those topics that, you know, it varies from person to person. Right. Me, I don't really have any like brand loyalties, you might say. I'm not one of those fanboys that goes out and is like, oh, I bought this product, this brand from the very beginning, so I've got to have this one thing for the rest of my life. No, it's like I'm literally looking over at my guitar rack right now, and I've got
it's really open. It's an open selection.
Yeah. No, I've got like, let's see, I've got 2 Epiphones, I've got a Fender, I've got an off-brand, like, what is this even? No, seriously, like this guitar that I bought for like $70. It was like an off-brand,
like a Gibson, like Chinese.
It was like an off-brand Strat. It's called Amoon, Ammoon.
Yeah, that sounds really like an India knockoff.
Yeah, I have no idea. But then I have like what is this? See, I'm so bad. Like I have all my babies right here, and I can't even remember any of their names. But then I've got like an LTD that was probably one of my more expensive guitars. Ooh. And that was only because a friend of mine needed the money, and I'm like, hey, I'll help you out. I'll drive 3 hours and 3 hours back. But yeah, no. When it comes to that, it's anyone who's picking up a guitar for the first time, don't feel like you have to get a Fender or a Gibson or anything like that. It's like there are names that stand for quality, but especially if you're just starting out, you don't want to be throwing a bunch of money. Like, for instance, my parents, my dad, he went above and beyond to get me my first guitar. Problem was it had one of those Floyd Rose whammy tremolos on it.
Floyd Rose
and
the devil.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like that was almost like, you know, throwing someone into the driver's seat of a manual shift car and then expecting them to, you know, get somewhere.
Right.
And it's like, no, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing with this thing. So, number one, it was never in tune. Number two, it was never set up properly because, you know, you actually have to take it to a luthier to get it properly set up.
Right.
Number three, whenever we had to change the strings, it was never an easy task. And number four, I lost the locking nuts on the top of the neck.
Yeah.
That are supposed to counteract the stretching of the tremolo. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't even use the freaking Floyd Rose at all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Needless to say, I got rid of that guitar.
Wow.
But yeah, no. Yep. That's what I mean. Like, no, I would love to have like the luxury,
like,
you know,
the fucking
brand.
1965 Gretsch Country Gentleman, fucking Chet Atkins signed it, man. You know.
Yeah, or freaking like Herman Lee model Ibanez, you know, some shit like that. But, you know, it's literally whatever works for you and whatever your ear likes. There's no. It's like convincing everyone in the world they need a Ferrari. It's like, no. Right. It's a luxury.
Well, that's that too. I look at it that way too. But especially if you want to actually like improve, of course, you know, your $20 Mexistrat that you got off Reverb for $80 isn't going to take you all the way. You're probably going to have to invest in like a $400 or $500 better guitar. For instance, I had a 1995 little Mexican Stratocaster, and I traded that out for a Gibson Les Paul, and I fucking love it.
Right.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, there are cheap pieces of crap out there that no matter how much you've practiced, no matter how experienced you are,
It'll
no matter
always
how
sound
many
like dog shit, no
Yeah.
matter what you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, and sure, there's plenty of like modern processing that can make a lot of
Right.
really cheap stuff sound good,
Mhm.
but like I said, it's all comes down to personal preference.
Right. So I gotta get your
But
opinion.
frickin' it doesn't.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, and don't expect to get anywhere if you don't want to change strings either.
Yeah, legit. I mean, you might be able to use nylon, but then again, you're not gonna get a good electric tone since it's not electric.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Mhm.
Anyway, you were saying.
I was gonna say. So, I gotta ask you. I guess this is kind of. I know I said nothing controversial. This is. I guess it is. Greta Van Fleet.
Uh-oh.
All right. Amazing band. People say they sound too much like Led Zeppelin. What is your opinion on Greta Van Fleet?
That's what everyone says, and what I have to say to that. Sure, they're building on an already established legacy,
Mm-hmm.
but if you think about it, that's basically what all music has become, is that everyone is building on the ideas of the past
Right.
to either make something new or take it in their own direction. And I think, now don't get me wrong, like a cover band, you might say,
Yeah.
a cover band isn't going to be selling out an arena.
Mhm.
A cover band isn't going to sell 1 million records.
Right.
Now, a band like Greta Van Fleet that takes an old school sound, making new material with it,
Mhm.
I don't have any bad opinions about that. I'm not saying that's like, oh, how dare they? It's like, oh, they're taking someone else's sound. It's like, they're doing more than you are.
Right.
And it's funny, like, if you guys check out my YouTube channel, of course,
You got
I'm
to
sure.
meet them.
Yes, there was that very, very cringeworthy, awkward moment where I got to meet them, and I haven't seen them since. So either I scared them off, or they're just too busy touring to come back to Michigan. But yeah, no, I think I have to say, to the people that have a problem with Greta Van Fleet sounding too much like something that is already established as classic and all that other kind of stuff, it's like, I understand the controversy, I understand the negativity, but if you're not going to ever allow someone to experiment with old stuff like that, like such a classic way of making music, then are you really encouraging a creative atmosphere, or are you just saying like, no, I want it my way? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, I more than welcome new bands that don't sound like anything that I've ever heard before.
Mhm.
But you have to admit, like, people gravitate towards what they're familiar with.
Mhm.
That's what's going to be popular 90% of the time.
I have a friend who likes Guar, and I'm like, what the fuck is this band? And he's like, dude, it's the best fucking band ever. And I'm like, I feel like I'm having a fever dream watching
Well,
this
see,
shit.
there are some bands like that where they're more about the experience as a whole than just the music.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even in going as far back as, like, Kiss. Like, they're one of those bands that they put on a show.
Mhm.
I mean, they have some
So did Alice
music
Cooper,
that's... Right. They have some music that's great, but it's almost nothing. You take away the costume and makeup and stage performance, it's
just
not
a band.
nearly as effective.
Yeah.
Like, they even admit when they went through their whole phase where they didn't do the costumes and makeup on stage, like, they saw the difference. Like, they saw the difference in the crowd, they saw the difference in their sales numbers, and they're like, oh shoot, well, I guess we got to go back to doing the costume and makeup thing.
Right. Yeah. I got another question for you.
Sure.
Van Halen, amazing band. Eddie Van Halen, amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Are you a David Lee Roth fan or a Sammy Hagar fan?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that, people are really either one side or the other over. me personally, I prefer the David Lee Roth.
Right.
But there are still a few like Sammy Hagar tracks that I still think sound good.
Right.
The only problem is that it doesn't sound like the band Van Halen. It sounds like a different band, but with Eddie in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't like, you don't get the same vibe from it.
Right.
Yeah,
it seemed like Sammy Hagar had like more of an edgy vibe to Van Halen, where David Lee Roth was like, yeah, everybody jump up, it's fun time, you know.
Oh, well, I mean,
if you look,
David Lee,
you know, right now,
David Lee Roth, he had more of a like old school, like soul approach to his vocals. He got really screamy with it.
Right.
Whereas Sammy Hagar, he's like more like operatic, I guess.
Right.
So I can understand that, but at the same token, you like you said, you're dealing with two completely different frontmen, and that can change the dynamics of everything when a whole band's involved. Yeah.
All right, I got another question.
This is no music podcast. We're just gonna talk about music crap and
I don't.
Sorry.
I know I would bring up more furry stuff, but I know you're a guitarist, so I would try to.
That's
we're both
all
guitarists. You know, we're both musicians. So,
I just feel like we're on a radio talk show now.
Yeah. Fucking.
Hey, Casey Kasem in the morning.
Yeah. What? Howard Stern in the morning.
Oh yeah.
What is your opinion on Gibson guitars as of right now? Because, you know, people have said that Gibson's build quality is starting to go downhill ever since the 1980s, and that the new president of Gibson is supposedly the newer models that they're making are supposedly better. What is your opinion on that? Because I have a Gibson Les Paul that was made in that era of the 80s and all the way to 2019. And it plays just fine. I don't notice any issues with it. What is your opinion on that, though?
Well, like I had said earlier about like big brands and stuff like that, is that, you know, sure, a brand carries their legacy of quality or what people expect from them. Right. Once you get to a certain point where you can no longer fulfill those expectations and you're still charging people an arm and a leg, that's when the brand itself has just become a name and no longer a proof of quality. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole controversy, but they had put out like a threatening video saying, oh, this person's copying our headstock. We're gonna sue them. Any like third-party guitar makers that are copying our designs, we're gonna sue all them too. All this other kind of stuff.
Gibson lost the rights to the term "flying V" too.
Yeah. So there's all this controversy that they drummed up because of all that crap, and now I think they're in the process of backpedaling.
Right.
So it's like, oh, we didn't mean it. Come back, buy our shit. But that's what I'm saying. Brand loyalty really means nothing to me if the brand is not going to actually like back up what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Like, yeah, if they're going to start churning out crap, call them out on it, you know? I mean, come on, Gibson, get that shit together.
With it. Get your head out of your ass. Make a good guitar.
You know?
Make a guitar that's actually worth $3,000.
Right.
Know?
And that's the thing. You said so yourself. You own a Gibson. So like it's probably more the best guitar you have right now, is it?
Yeah, that's actually, it doesn't have strings on it. I got to get new strings, but yeah, as of
right
now,
right.
Yes.
But yeah, like you're saying that you bought this guitar during that kind of like era
where people were like, "Fucking Gibson's such a
yeah.
God.
But that's what I'm saying, is that like even compared to some more generic brands, it still could be, you know, considered better.
Right.
But it's not up to snuff of like the people that can actually hear the difference.
Right.
You know. So it's not that it's talking down about the guys like you that just bought one during that time, but it's more to the fact that like, oh, you wouldn't know any better, so Hey, that's what I'm saying. If it sounds good to you, then that's all that matters. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I still put gain up all the way, and I'm like, this sounds awesome. Yeah, and there's like no bass or mids. Just, I'm like, this sounds so cool.
Yeah, that I went through a very long learning phase when it came to that, because it wasn't until I actually traded in my first amp and got my second one that I was like, let's maybe not put the gain up all the way. Let's maybe not put the treble through the roof.
What kind of amp do you have? Is it a head and cabinet?
You're gonna groan at this one.
I don't know.
I just have a line 6.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, but it's a line 6 Spider.
That's still not that bad. It's better than people paying for solid state Marshall amps and they pay like $800 for it, and you're like, it's a solid state amp though. If it was a bulb amp, I would pay $800, but I'm not gonna pay $800 for a solid state amp. And then have to pay another $200 for a cabinet.
Yeah. No, like here's the thing, like you were saying about Gibson with their whole controversy. Like Line 6 is one of those companies where they still technically make good shit, but their name has been smeared because Line 6 in itself was pushed by so many employees at like places like Guitar Center,
right,
onto new players that didn't know how to use the equipment. So that whenever there's a newer or inexperienced person up and coming with a Line 6 and they don't know how to balance out an EQ, they don't know how to like not crank their gain up all the way, and they play live and they sound like shit.
Right.
Like they associate that crappy performance with the Line 6. So it's like it's really hard to remove that what would you say? Association, right, I guess, with the name. And so like I use a Line 6 just because, number one, it's got all the flexibility I need, especially with just messing around and coming up with new tones. I know it's not the best, definitely by far. I wouldn't even call it the best mediocre cab I have or ever played, but also that, it was one of those amps that came with the option to add on a foot switch pedal,
right,
to just switch between effects and everything like that, instead of having to get a chain of foot pedals all connected. So it was more about practicality than actual liking the tone.
Now that's your is that your at home amp, or is that the amp you travel with?
Both.
Oh, all right.
Because I'm broke.
I thought you would have had like a travel amp for when you go to cons, and then like a at home amp, right?
No, I just got the one. And that's the thing, anymore, if I'm recording or if I'm practicing, half the time I just use a built-in guitar effects panel in my actual recording software.
Oh yeah.
Like, if I don't have to use my amp, I won't even plug it in, because at this point it's just like, I'm just using it to get what I need out of it. I'm not even using it to get the tones I actually like.
Right. Yeah. What about, all right, we're talking a lot of music. This is a furry podcast. Let me draw on off. When did you get your fursuit? How about that? That's simple.
Yeah. Crap, now I've got to completely shift gears mentally. What did you do to me, man?
Don't worry, I have ADD too. Attention, it's a hassle.
Okay, well, let me think. I'm literally looking it up.
Right.
I want to say it was about 3 years ago. Shoot. If I had to get more specific, it would have been in 2016. Well, that was when like it was basically 90% completed, where I had like the hair and everything, because I think 1 year before that I had like the basic partial. So it was like 2015 actually no, it was 2016. Yeah, that was when I had basically completed the partial, and it wasn't until I think last year that I finally finished the damn wings. So it's just been this long, drawn out work in progress. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't get as much mileage as you think, just because I've taken a huge hiatus from YouTube, and sure, I'll still wear it at conventions, but even then it's just like, get me out of this thing.
Oh, of course. Every suitor is gonna have its limit when it comes to wearing a fursuit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I want to get back into making videos with it. It's just I've been dragging my feet so much. But yeah, it was a whole learning experience making it, and
bro, legit, I will gladly do YouTube videos with you. Not even legit, straight up. Yeah. Nah,
okay. Oh man. But yeah, one of the announcements that I wanted to make once I had settled into my new place, which I basically am now, was that I wanted to dip my foot into opening up for commissions for partials. The only problem is that, working full time and still dealing with the whole new living situation, I'm still just getting like the ground under my feet.
Right.
So who knows if I'll even be able to open up for that, but
you might be able to. Is your full time like seasonal?
No, it's literally like full time year round. So it's like, and it's retail, so it's like,
fuck.
Moving on your feet 8 hours a day, every day.
Yeah, I understand. Retail's fucking tough. So you said, I heard you say things that you finished your suit. I would have assumed that you had it commissioned by another person, but the way it sounds, did you build it yourself?
Yes. Yes. So like I said, that was the whole. Well, yeah.
I'm messing with you. Yeah. Yeah, I did not even.
No, like I said, it was an interesting learning experience because, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just basically looked up tutorials, and the only advantage I had was I have a history as a 3D modeler.
Right.
And I've also worked with modeling, doing ceramics, that kind of thing. So I knew how to make a 3D form pretty easily.
Right.
So transferring all that over into carving pieces out of foam wasn't too much of a stretch for me.
Right. Yeah, that's always a neat little thing to have. I wish I was talented with that, but the way I look at it, for me, is I put all my time and effort into music, and then when I wanted to do art, I picked up art and I had no idea what I was doing. I picked up a pencil. Where are the pickups? Huh? Where's the volume now?
That's the thing, is that people are like, oh man, you're so talented. I wish I could be like that.
Yeah.
But
it takes time.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't know. Do you watch Game Grumps at all?
Oh, do.
Because there's that one quote from Aaron where it's like, I didn't come out the pussy singing Mozart.
Right. Speaking of Game Grumps, did you see what was trending on Twitter this morning?
No, I did not.
Oh my god. Apparently, you know who Sir Palo is? He's another animator. He made a joke about the. I'm sorry, this is controversial. Unless you want to hear about it.
Okay, it's your podcast, not mine.
Well, basically, he made a joke about how everybody will make the joke about top 10 biggest, or this is the time I punched a cop in the face. Those kind of YouTube channels where they tell stories or it's top 10s. He was making fun of Odd One Out and YouTubers like that, where it's still storytelling, but it's over an animation. And he was making a joke out of it, right?
Okay.
And Aaron from Ego Raptor Game Grumps flipped out and tweeted him and was like, this is so mean. Oh my god, why would you do this? And the entire internet went apeshit over it. Legitimately.
I didn't hear about that.
It was trending this morning. I literally woke up at 10, look at my fucking phone, it's just Aaron trending, and I'm like, huh? And then he had to put out an apology. Yeah, it was insane. It was really weird. Yeah.
Oh my god. Now I have to look this up later.
Yeah, it was insane. It was all over the place. So going back to your fursuit,
Yeah.
This is kind of a rude question. How much do you think you spent in that time making it?
Oh, well, no, that's fine. I wanted to say a ballpark of like $700, $800.
Oh wow, that's actually a lot cheaper for a partial.
But that was like including the investment in like all the hardware needed, like
right,
the sewing machine and all the like the actual pieces, parts of everything to go with it.
Right.
Like, I mean, all that stuff adds up pretty quickly. It's just, it took me 3 months to get like a simple partial. So, and that was like, you know, with having no idea what I was doing. So like, you know, when people like to say like, oh, ballpark estimate for, you know, a full body fursuit is like $2,000.
Right.
I can see that because it's the labor. It's the fucking labor. And I swear to God, makers and artists that do commission work, they do not get paid enough. Like, I'm not even kidding, because like art in itself is a luxury.
Right.
You know, we don't need art to survive. We don't need art to feed our family. We need art
to feed my family. You know?
We need, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need art and music and stuff like that to enrich our lives.
Right.
Without all that stuff, it's just like the, you know,
it's boring.
Sticks in the mud, you know?
Yeah. Go outside,
but that's what I'm saying.
You know,
but that's what I'm saying. The amount of time that artists throw in. I am kind of tooting my own horn there because I am technically an artist. So like,
lucky.
Anyone can be an artist if they want to.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, is that like people don't give artists enough credit where credit's due most of the time.
Right.
And jeez, like, this is also me coming from being like going to art school.
Right.
So I have that whole background too. So it's just like, come on, people. Like, you look down your nose at artists and be like, nah.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, okay, try going 1 month without listening to the radio, watching TV, having any sort of colorful clothing other than like black and white, you know, not looking at anything that's painted any colors or designed by an artist, which would basically make you live out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Right. So just basically
and see how enriched your life is.
Point. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You know.
Damn, we got 33 minutes. I have to milk this to about an hour. I don't know what I got. I don't got anything left.
That's fine. I mean, we can go on tangents if you want. I don't freaking care.
Damn, I finished my cigar. I don't want to light another one because I don't want to fucking get a nicotine buzz. What am I gonna do? I gotta drag this out. What the fuck? What was your most recent con that you went to?
Oh, that had to be Motor City Fur Con.
I want to go really badly.
Then do it.
I can't, dude. I don't got. Look, hey, listen here. I'm an unemployed high school dropout boomer. All right, I don't have a driver's license. I am what you call a mistake. It's like the best way to put it.
Oh,
but
Jesus.
Of course, a con has always been on my bucket list. You know, but I'd have to give it time. You know.
Right. And that's the thing, is that like, especially people that they can't afford to go to a con,
right,
or they wouldn't be able to afford to rent a room or anything like that. There are plenty, like just about every major con in the US has like some sort of message board for like ride share and room share, that kind of thing.
Awesome.
I mean,
I gotta remember that.
that's what I'm saying. Like, as long as you don't mind, like, you know, making friends with strangers and sleeping in the same room together, there's really reasonable ways of finding, you know, that kind of stuff. Right. It's just, you know, there's a risk with anything like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't.
You're not expected to.
Go ahead.
You're not expected to trust everyone that you meet, especially like, you know, the furry community is not this beaking, shining example of you know, we're the best people in the world. We're all happy and
it's always like that too. People try to paint it like that, and then you hear shit like Growly or Kiro, and then you hear those stories. And you're like, what is happening? Yeah, it's basically a giant facade at that point when it comes to people are like, so tell me about the fandom, and you're like, you want to go to Arby's instead, you know?
Yeah. Damn it, why'd you have to bring food into this conversation? I'm fucking hungry. I put off eating for this interview.
You could have got like, damn, if that was the issue, I could have let you like, we could have halted it to like 5:40. Could have went to McDonald's or something.
No, because Stoney needs his interview.
I do need my interview.
Oh man.
Damn.
But yeah,
anyways, I would love to go to Motor City FurCon. That's in Southfield, right?
Yeah, they just recently moved to their new location there, and honestly, aside from their very risque water feature that is so dangerously front and center in their lobby, right. It's a really nice place.
When you say water feature, are you talking about like the Flint? I don't understand.
No. No.
I was like, is there water that dirty?
Like someone's putting lead in the water at the FurCon.
Oh, what was that one convention where the guy lit off the chlorine bomb? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was
That's you just said that, and I was like, that reminds me of something.
Yeah, I mean, unofficially, I know one of the people that worked security for that con. That was a legit accident. They didn't actually mean to do that. Mm-hmm. It was just something that happened. Why the person had those chemicals at the place, I couldn't fucking tell you.
Cleaning the pool. What does it look like?
You know. But it was an attendee that did that by accident. From what I've heard, this is just rumor. I don't want to like officially confirm nor deny, but this is just what I heard from my friend that worked in security, and I'm not gonna name names. So, yeah.
No, please name names. Can you tell us his social security number too, his address?
Yeah, you know. Shit.
Right.
He's married too.
Damn, we only went by 4 minutes. I need to. I lost. I don't know what else to do.
It's fine. Like, what were we talking about earlier? Oh, Motor City FurCon. Yeah, the water feature in question is this very large bowl-shaped fountain that it literally doesn't have like a guardrail around it or something like preventing you from literally leaning on it and just dipping your elbow in the edge, because it's literally at table height. Like, if you didn't know any better, this thing looks like a table. Mm-hmm. Like, it looks like a flat sheet of glass in this giant fucking bowl, and anyone could easily just trip and face plant into this fucking thing.
Is it deep, or is it like a standard like?
Oh yeah, no, it's like off the ground, but it's like at least 2 or 3 feet deep in the middle. So it's like,
whoops.
That was the thing going on at the con, was just like, all right, bets on how long it takes for a fursuiter to go dunking in it. And it was like everyone was holding their breath on that one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did the people planning this con not think this through? Yeah. But, you know, I mean, luckily from what I've heard, there hasn't been any incidents. I know at one point there was like a herd of rubber duckies someone had put in there, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. But like,
Yeah, that's harmless.
you know, at least nothing crazy happened. But yeah, people are still getting used to the new hotel.
Right.
So attendance wasn't necessarily as huge as it might have been had they stuck in the same venue.
Right.
But they did change venues because they had outgrown their current hotel. Yeah, excuse me.
That's fine. Don't
And
worry about it.
not to mention that what was it? I think their contract with their last hotel was up anyway.
Mhm.
So they're like, oh, let's see if this other place might work for us better. They got more space for us to do things and stuff.
Right.
I
just wish there was a con closer to me, cause Southfield from where
what
I'm
state
at.
are you in?
I'm in Michigan. We're both in Michigan, but
Oh,
I'm like Traverse City area, so it's like a 2-hour drive to Southfield. It's insane.
oh, that's more like a 3.5 hour drive.
It's a lot of hours to get there, you know.
Well, dude, like I used to live up in Grayling, so
Oh, that's such a nice
like,
area.
it's a nice area to vacation.
Mhm.
And then the vacationers decide, oh, we like it here. We're going to live here.
Right.
And then,
Yeah, really, the only issue I have with northern Michigan, it's so nice. It's so pretty in the summertime. It's pretty in the wintertime. It's just there's so many tourists. It's tourist up the wazoo. I live in Frankfurt, which is pretty close to TC, but it's just insane how many tourists come piling through here.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just like, it's the place to go in summertime if, you know, you don't like to burn up in the sun.
Right.
Because, you know, northern Michigan is like several degrees cooler.
Right. Lake effect snow my ass.
Jesus. Well, and that's the thing, especially this summer after having that massive heat wave roll through, like, we're gonna see some shit in the wintertime. Like, it's gonna be nuts.
It's always gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
Remember 2014? It was a fucking downpour. Goddamn. Or was it 2012? Which winter was it? They were like, this is the winter of 78 all over again.
Yeah, no, and don't I'm getting flashbacks.
It physically gives
I don't
Michiganders like PTSD when people talk about shit like that, where how bad the winters are because of lake effect snow.
Oh my god. Yeah. But no, speaking of Traverse City, I actually what was it? I took scuba diving lessons up there.
Really?
Yeah, there's a scuba shop up across from the Bay Area, like literally right across the street from where they launch one of their big sailboats.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I went there on a scholarship through like the standardized testing they do, the MEP scores, that kind of thing.
Yep.
I was like, I want to go scuba diving. But yeah, like scuba diving in Traverse City, that's like one of my favorite memories up there. That was awesome.
At least you have good memories in northern Michigan.
Trust me, going to school up north was that. Anyway,
literally, last year there was some argument that broke out in some guy's house, and he like shot his brother for it. And we're literally like right next door to where it happened. I was like, this is a great place to live. This is a nice place.
God, no. But no, like I think one of my favorite memories from the Traverse City area was I actually won a underwater pumpkin carving contest hosted by the scuba shop. Yeah. And I did it literally single-handedly.
That sounds awesome.
Okay, no, here's the whole setup.
Right.
First off, my right arm was in a cast.
Oh.
Because I had broken like a bone on the pinky side of my hand.
Right.
From a football hitting it way too freaking hard because I didn't know how to catch a damn football.
Same.
But anyway, so that wasn't a cast. They had that vacuum sealed in this fancy silicone sleeve so I could scuba dive with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with my dad to the dive shop for this competition. And it was already teams of 2, so I'm like, crap, I'll design this. So I designed this pumpkin carving that was scuba goggles with the regulator in front and then bubbles coming out the side. So instead of being your traditional jack-o'-lantern face, it was this scuba diving face.
Right.
And the thing was, everyone basically pre-emptied their pumpkins at the dive shop.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have all the guts and everything to worry about. So everyone got suited up, took our pumpkins across the street, got into the bay, and we took one of the weight belt weights, like the big square lead weights that they wear to like actually counterbalance themselves. Put that in the pumpkin, sunk it down to the bottom of the bay. Then we had to dive down there, find our pumpkin, and then carve out the design we'd drawn on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was there holding the pumpkin. My dad was carving out my design. And it was funny because every piece we carved out, like it would pop free and then float up to the surface 20 feet above our heads. It was like the most trippy shit ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we were done, we basically took the lead weight out of the pumpkin and it just floated to the surface too. And we ended up winning the competition. And it was awesome because like we got a photo with the pumpkin and everything. And I'm standing there in the wetsuit with my arm still in that like vacuum sealed sleeve. And I got the pumpkin under my arm. And I'm just like, hey.
I did it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I miss going up to Traverse City, though.
Man, you know, we have a Traverse City Comic-Con in May, like every single year. And it's super cool. I still want to go to it. It's like $25 for an entry ticket. And it's so amazing. You know, all the people who are there. There's a couple furries that go there every year, you know. But
yeah,
that's also on my bucket list, you know. I talked to friends who go, and I was like, dude, can I get a ride? And then they're like, sure. And then day of the event, are you here? And they're like, oh, I can't go. And I'm like, are you fucking what? You know?
Yeah. No, I know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
There was a convention here back in February, I think.
Right.
Or was it? Yeah. Astronomicon. That one is also really close to my area. Excuse me. That convention is more like based around I mean, it's a general comic book convention,
mm-hmm.
but it's more themed around like the horror stuff. Like they had a lot of like they actually booked a lot of actors from like famous movies. Like they had one of the actors that played Jason Voorhees. They had Linda Blair, like the original Exorcist girl.
Wow.
And you know, she's like, you know,
did she vomit on people at the convention?
No, but they did have they did have like one of those VIP photo ops with her. I didn't because I wasn't like a big fan or nothing. But that was where I got to meet Dee Snider, though.
You got to meet Dee Snider?
Yeah.
What the hell? You got to meet Greta Van Fleet and you got to meet Dee Snider. Cool. I got to meet my dad.
Hey. In my defense, I had to pay to meet Dee Snider.
Oh, okay.
Hey, no, I actually paid for like the whole VIP like photo op with him and everything, and I paid out the ass to have him sign one of my guitars.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever met any like famous. Oh no, I met Kid Rock in Frankfurt Harbor because he parked his yacht there. You fucking dummy, you know. He comes out going, "I'm Kid Rock," and then you're like, "Oh, okay, it's that guy."
Pull up like I got a big yacht.
He just pulls up in Frankfurt Harbor in his like 80-foot long yacht. Comes through. You can hear his speakers blasting. You know. Yeah, I guess that's like the only famous person I've met. I wouldn't count Kid Rock very famous though. More of a.
You know, it's funny. It's funny because I work with people that apparently knew him in school, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that guy's an asshole."
Yeah, that guy's kind of a douche. He's not a nice guy.
Yeah, you know.
My uncle apparently fucking met so many musicians. He met Bob Seger, Peter Frampton.
Oh,
I'm just like, how the hell did you meet all these people? And he just said, I don't know, I just did it.
Yeah. Oh man, no. I mean, when it comes to meeting people like that, it's just like, you know,
bro, I would have.
People
shit
think
myself.
it's
like legit. I would be like, I don't know what to do.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you know, I've had people have that reaction to me before, and I don't know how to process it because I'm just like, I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
Hi. But it's like that whole gut reaction you get to like, okay, this is a very well-known person. Right. This is a person with like, you know, influence. This is a person with like history.
This is a person I look up to. You know, and it's like that whole gut reaction you get to, you know, what we've come to know as fame. It's like, I don't even quite understand it myself. Cause like when, like, for instance, when I had met Greta Van Fleet in my store, it was just this unexpected encounter. And it was more to the fact that I had put so much social weight onto this one interaction that it felt like I had to force myself to do it, that if I didn't, it wouldn't change my life or whatever, you know. And people think meeting their idol or meeting the person that they, you know, admire is going to change anything. It's like, sure, you can have that moment as a fan meeting with a person that you like, right?
But I don't quite know. Like, I completely lost my train of thought. But it's like, you know, you can look forward to meeting someone that you think is important, but in reality, how much is it actually going to change you as a person? You know, don't get me wrong. I totally respect the people that are like, oh man, so and so's in town. I will freaking put a second mortgage on my house just to see them. You know, that kind of thing. It's like, you know, if you enjoy someone that much, you know what? Good for you, because they did something for you. But
do you have someone who's like that? Where you're like, I will sell my liver to see this person.
You know, that's the thing. I don't really. I mean, sure, I've got, you know, all these, you know, musicians and performers that I look up to as inspiration.
Whoa,
but
that's another good question to ask. What are some musicians that you look up to?
Yeah, I mean, well, one major one that I look up to just as a frontman and a singer is definitely Corey Taylor.
Oh, Slipknot.
Slipknot, Stone Sour, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Stone Sour twice, and I will see them a third time if they come back through Michigan.
Right.
They put on an amazing show.
Have
yet to see Slipknot though. Only on the grounds of that I don't know if I'm hardcore enough to withstand that kind of crowd.
Oh no, of course I wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like him as like a quintessential front man guy, like he's one of those people that I take heavy inspiration from.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even attitude wise, maybe even stylistically wise, I take a lot from like the music he's involved in.
Mm-hmm.
I never try to carbon copy, but there are times where I just gravitate towards a song that he's been in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, Dave Grohl, I'd love to meet him. And, you know, all the guys in Foo Fighters, like, you know, those guys are awesome. The guys in Alice in Chains.
Jerry Cantrell, Lane Staley. Oh, you can't meet Lane Staley anymore. He's dead, but...
Yeah, unfortunately.
You can meet Jerry Cantrell.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that, like, I never try to put the people that I draw inspiration to up on such a pedestal that, you know, oh, I'm so beneath them. You know, oh, I need to worship their way of doing things because that's how, you know, that's what I need to be. It's like, no, like, you can look at movie stars and be like, oh my god, they're so beautiful, they're so sexy, you know. But like, they're an actor. That was their job. They are not necessarily doing it for the fame. They're not necessarily doing it for the attention. They're doing it as a job. And at the end of the day, that's what doing music is for musicians. It's their job. Sure, they entertain. They're, you know, these well-known public figures. They're, you know, these faces and voices that you can recognize at the drop of a hat.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's their job, and they're just people.
Right.
And that's the huge thing that a lot of people remove themselves from. It's like, no, they're these gods among men. They're these fucking like Adonis of guitars, you know. It's like there's respect to be had where respect is due, but they're just people.
Yeah. I've always wanted to meet Tommy Shaw from the band Styx. Cause
really,
he's just seems like such a cool person. He lived in Niles, Michigan for a little bit, and, you know. Yeah. And then you have the people who were born in Michigan, you know, Peter Frampton, Bob Seger, you know, who are just like, I really want to meet those people too. Yeah. You know.
No, see, my problem is that whenever I fall into the trap of like, oh, I really want to meet and interact with this person, 9 times out of 10, if I take a step back and I think of the reasons why I actually want to, it's just like, oh no, it's because I actually want to get XYZ out of this. Right. I want, you know, like, you know, you think of like famous internet people like Markiplier and, you know, the Game Grumps guys, right. Dan and Aaron, and you're like, oh man, I would love to meet these guys, but even better if I could actually make something with them.
Oh, of course.
You know. And that's I think where people kind of like, they don't realize what they're trying to get out of this interaction they have with this famous person they like.
Right.
You know, me, I've admitted to myself, okay, one of the biggest reasons why I would want to meet one of those guys is to actually do something with them, not to just meet them. I would want to actually make something with them so that, you know, I could benefit from it, you know, or make something cool that was entertaining from it, you know.
See, I'm really lackluster when it comes to that. If Tommy Shaw just walked past me and said hi, I would have fucking cried, dude. I would have been like, oh my god, Tommy Shaw just said hi. Oh my fucking god.
Well, that's the power of like stardom, though. It does have that like gravitas to it. And you know, who's to say that, like, you know, you get people online that get comments all the time like, oh my god, your videos helped me so much through this tough time in my life.
Right.
Oh, you're so entertaining. You made my day so much better. All that kind of stuff. And it's great to get that kind of one-on-one feedback. But how weird is that, especially for the older bands nowadays, with the advent of social media? They're like, they've always been these voices on the radio singing all these #1 hit songs, and then, you know, all of a sudden the internet comes along and now everyone has access to everyone. Oh, I'm gonna tweet so and so. Oh, I'm gonna and it's just like, growing up nowadays, it's almost like you have to put yourself out there publicly or people won't be interested.
Right.
Like you said, your guy from Styx that you want to meet, what's his name again?
Tommy Shaw. He was one of the frontmen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, imagine if he back in the day had to make a Twitter profile and all that other kind of stuff, you know, just to get attention. You know, those bands like Styx, they didn't make it big because they were on social media. They made it big because they were on the radio.
Yep.
And so nowadays, it's almost as if for someone to just get famous off a radio play is a real fucking rarity anymore. It's like if your songs aren't on like all the internet radio stations like Pandora and Spotify and all that other kind of shit, where your stuff just randomly gets put into the mix somewhere,
right?
Like, it's literally like you have to build this whole cult of personality anymore just to break the mold.
The cult of personality.
I'm being straight up about that, because it's like you gotta play the public game, you gotta play the social media game, you gotta play the small game building up into the big game. You have to appeal
to an audience and also at the same time not offend said audience with an opinion.
Right.
You know.
there's that too, but it's also like, and with everyone being on social media, like, how are you supposed to draw attention to everything that you've worked so hard to put into?
Right.
You know, it's like you're 1 in a billion now, and like, I feel so grateful that, you know, over 1,000 people have come across my YouTube channel and Twitter, and like, you know, had the incentive enough to follow me or subscribe, because like, out of all the people in the world, they picked me. And I'm like, sure, you could easily just ignore all my submissions. You could easily just not see anything that I put up in my timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that you took that time out of your day to click, okay, yeah, I want to see what this guy's up to. That meant a lot to me,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Oh, I felt the same way when you replied to the message saying you wanted to be in this interview. I was like, dude, what, bro, Rashoni's gonna be in my interview, dude. What the fuck, bro?
Well, I haven't fucking put anything up on my YouTube channel, so it's not like I was busy or anything.
Well, you know, it's just like, I messaged a bunch of other people too, like, hey, I'm doing a podcast. I'd love to have you on an interview, you know, and it was just like, it was a waiting game. And then finally I got a reply, it was you, and you were like, you said you were interested, and I was like, what am I supposed to say now? You know.
It's like, when it was, I'm sorry, I'm gonna quote SpongeBob here, but it's like that episode where Plankton like actually got the Krabby Patty formula, and they're like asking him, now what? And it's like, I don't know, I never expected to get this far.
We're an hour in.
Yeah.
We're an hour and a minute in.
We
made it past the mark. Good, because that's about how long a podcast is. About an hour.
We broke the hour cherry.
Yes. We were able to milk it all the way to an hour.
There we go.
That's great.
Oh man.
That's great. So yeah, I feel like I covered all the bases. We had music, we had furry stuff, we had opinions.
All right. Well, and that's one other thing about this whole podcast deal. I hope it takes off.
I really do.
Once you get up the first episode and people can have an example of what to expect, you'll get a lot of more people interested. Mm-hmm. Because that was one of my holdups I had of like, okay, this guy doesn't even have like something that I could go by to expect or anything like that. So hopefully this will help you out with that.
Yeah.
And to any future listeners out there, if you liked this podcast, if there's a like button, like it. If there's a subscribe button, fucking subscribe.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna cry now, bro. Dude, he's awesome, man. Dude.
But yeah. Guess would be time for like parting thoughts or anything like that. Any like one little one-off question or something maybe you want to give me or something.
What did you think of the podcast? That's about all I got.
It was strong. 7 out of 10 for me. It was better than average, but better than average. I don't fucking know, man. No, this was fun.
Yeah, it's always good.
No, but I appreciate you having me on. And if you guys want to check out my stuff.
I forgot the beat. Yo, where can people find you?
No, like, here's the plug part. Yeah, no, if you want to find me, just look up The Rock and Roll Dragon on YouTube. It's been a while since I've updated there, but I will be adding more stuff. I pretty much at least post weekly on Twitter, and that's at the same tag that's going to be Rock and Roll Dragon. I'm sure Stony here is going to put all the links in whatever description or whatever, wherever he decides to post this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I've also got a Patreon and a Ko-fi. If you guys felt like helping me out, I'm still in a bit of debt for student loans, so this is where I start banging my cup against the cage and be like, yeah, help me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks for having me on here, man. It's been fun.
That was awesome, man. That was great. It's always good. Thank you for starring on the podcast. That's the first thing I have to say.
Oh yeah, no problem, man.
yeah, but this has been the first official episode of the Smoke Stop podcast. Once again, I will put Rashoni's stuff down in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. Please leave a like and subscribe. I don't have Patreon and Ko-Fi, but you know, it'll work out. Leave a like, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next episode or next podcast. Peace.